Hey y'all. Today I want to talk to you about something that's very important to me. It's something I've been thinking about this morning. I want to talk to you about loving your neighbor. Much as that is a Bible lesson, and one of the greatest commandments is to love your neighbor as you love yourself, it should also just be a human thing. You should love your neighbor because they're human and we're human and we all make mistakes and we all have ups and downs in life. And loving your neighbor is so beneficial. Just knowing your neighbor, minus the love part, just knowing your neighbor is actually very beneficial. And I was reading a study about people that knew their neighbors during the pandemic and the lockdown. People that knew just 6 of their neighbors reported less loneliness, less depression, less anxiety, and less financial concern. I made notes while I was doing this. And they also reported that they had a greater overall mental health. I don't know where that study is. I tried to look it back up and find it. But there's more studies just like it that say the same thing. If you know at least 6 people, if you have 6 neighbors that you know their name, know who they are, and feel comfortable enough to maybe, say, hey, how are you? Do you need anything? Hey, how are you? Can I borrow a cup of sugar? If you feel comfortable enough with those neighbors, it's just an overall better, healthy situation for you. So even though some people don't necessarily believe what the Bible says, it's a good practice as a human to be neighborly. So my way of loving my neighbor is we all have something to offer. We all have a talent. We all have things we can barter and trade. We all have some kind of kindness built up inside of us that we can offer to our neighbors. Some sort of talent, some sort of knowledge. But my way is by trying to teach them to be more self-sufficient. And I'm still learning a lot myself. But some people are just starting and they've been calling me and they've been saying, hey, can you tell me more about being self-sufficient? Can you tell me more about gardening? Can you tell me more about raising chickens? Can you tell me more about natural medicine? Can you tell me more about how to pack a bug out bag? And if you don't know what that is, that's another video that will be coming up shortly. But, how do you grow a fruit tree? How much fertilizer do I use? I have gotten tons and tons of messages and calls from people because I was weird before weird was cool. And I've been doing this self-sufficient lifestyle for at least 10 years now. And I've tried to talk to people about being self-sufficient, and people are like, "Oh, that's scary. That's scary. I don't even want to talk about it. Those kinds of things will probably never happen. There's no sense of dwelling in it, marinating in that, and feeling fear over it." But really, the whole thing that is important to know is that preparedness is the opposite of fear. If you are prepared for these things, then they're not as scary. Things that could happen like lockdowns and weirdo sicknesses that make it hard to get things that you need from the grocery store, gas shortages, truck drivers going on strike, and people not allowing, ships with goods to come into, your country. Those things could happen. Wink, wink. Like I said, I was weird before weird was cool. And now those same people that didn't want to hear it or talk about it, and some even laughed at me, they're calling me. And it kind of feels good. It's weird. And I know it's probably wrong to feel that way, but it kind of feels good that these people are calling me and asking. And, every time somebody gets into a self-sufficient lifestyle, I feel good. Oh, because here's the thing. I'm soft. And my neighbor comes over with their kid in the middle of, you know, something weird and tells me that they're hungry or their child is hungry. I can't. I don't know what I would do because I have my own kids to feed. So, you know, if I can help them be prepared at their house so they don't have to knock on my door and ask me for what I've been preparing for, that's helpful for me and them. And that's how I love them. And so today I am working on giving back to my neighbors. I'm going to poke some holes with this skewer, and I've already done these, but I'm going to poke some holes in these egg cartons with skewers, which came from my neighbors, by the way. My neighbors know that I have chickens, and they give me these. Ooh, woo! Show you my sidekick. Come here, baby. Oh, stop. He doesn't like to be picked up, but he's a sweet boy. This is our little house pig, Woo. And he is potty trained. And he's a sweet boy. And if you've never had a pig, I highly suggest it. If I knew that pigs were so wonderful, I never would have had a dog. Okay, you go down? You want to get down? Okay. Anyway, so I don't know what I was saying. I'm going to plant my extra seeds in these and grow them. And once they start sprouting, I'm going to give all of my neighbors a call, especially the ones that aren't quite into being self-sufficient, not quite concerned of gardening or putting up extra things. You know, most people have only 3 days worth of food in their house. Most people have 3 days worth of groceries, and that's it. I mean, I don't know how people do that. I feed 5 folks here, and 4 of them are grown, and my little one eats like he's a grown man. So, you know, I don't know how people have just 3 days worth of groceries in their house and make ends meet, but that's what everyone says. It's the most, is 3 days worth of food. And a lot of people don't know how to cook. They don't know how to prepare food if they did have it. But that's where I come in. I will help them. I will help them. So when these start sprouting, I will call my neighbors and I will say, hey, I have some extra tomatoes. Would you like to try to plant them in your yard? I have some extra squash. Would you like to try to plant them in your yard? I have some extra cucumbers growing. I have no place to put them. Do you have a place? Could I show you how to grow them and maybe offer you a trellis that I have or a piece of fence that they can grow up on or something like that? You know, how do you fertilize? How do you prune? How do you do this? And I'll just stick with them through the process and hopefully they'll get the fever. The I want to grow it myself fever. Because I need everyone around me to be self-sufficient for themselves and for me. That's my way of loving them, is trying to get them on board with that. Anyway, so I'm going to poke the holes in, and then I'll have my 9-year-old fill them all with soil. It's not very deep. They can't stay in here very long, but hotter days are among us. We're in this good old South Carolina weather, so we can plant a little sooner than most people. So once they get a root system established big enough to fill this cup, probably drop them in the ground and everything will be just fine. You know, we have what we call the Easter snap around here. You usually have one more good freeze right around Easter, but after Easter, it's a go. And I didn't read that anywhere. That's an old-timer hand-me-down knowledge there. So anyway, if you don't know your neighbors, organize a reason to know them. Do a community trash pickup. Have a cookout. Cook some extra food and then knock on your neighbor's door and do the old school thing and say, hey, I made like 36 cookies and it's just too much for us and I thought I'd share and introduce myself. You know, do a cookout and invite them. If you're riding through and you have an elderly person in your neighborhood and they need something done to their house, a little pressure washing, or the pine straw and leaves knocked off their roof, or whatever, they might need a ramp built because they can't climb stairs anymore. Go tell your neighbors, hey, that shows your heart and lets them know that you're a caring person and ask them if they would like to, if they're interested in helping do that. Make a reason. Make a reason to know your neighbors and find some kind of way to love them, share with them, barter and trade with them. Everybody has a talent. Everybody has a way that they can love on their neighbor. And you don't necessarily go at that wanting something in return, even though some of these plants, I'm hoping really strong that I get a little basket of blueberries in return from my neighbor. I cannot grow blueberries. I kill them. She can. So I'm hoping that she'll trade me some plants for some blueberries. But you don't go at this expecting anything in return. You love your neighbor and give them a chance to love you back. What do you have to offer your community? What do you have, that you can love on your neighbor with? Everybody has something. And if you don't feel like you have anything, you do have internet access. Teach yourself something. Knowledge is irreplaceable. It's something that nobody can ever take from you. You have knowledge at your fingertips. It's amazing. YouTube, Google, teach yourself something. Teach yourself something that you can share with your neighbors. Anyway, today I am planting, not for myself, but for my neighbors. And I know that that's what's going to happen in advance. And I'll stick with them to the end. We'll help plant, we'll help prune, we'll help fertilize, we'll help harvest, we'll do whatever we have to do. Self-sufficiency is important. Strong self-sufficiency is equal to strong self-esteem. It gives a person a feeling of security and contentment. Preparedness is the opposite of fearful to me. That's what it is. So anyway, love your neighbor the same way you would love yourself. Get to know your neighbors. Build a community. Learn together. Work together. It's good for your soul. It's good for your mental health. It's good.